Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of FLGS Spotlight, where we get to feature some of the greatest friendly local game stores from all around the country and world sometimes. Today, we are here with Jennifer Ward from Crazy Squirrel Games and Toys. And also later in the show, we're going to have Jason Morningstar, creator of Fiasco from Pulpit. Yeah, so Jennifer's excited. Don't let her, she can't hide it. Hey Jennifer, how are you?
Hey, what's going on? I'm great today. We just got our day started out here.
That's awesome. Well,
I can't see Dawn moving. Okay. Dawn, you paused hard.
Yeah. I'm here. I have really good internet signal too. That's really a bummer.
Well, that's okay. That's the internet, right? That's what happens.
Am I back? Am I live? Am I working? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Hey, so I was trying to say you guys are in Fresno and it's super beautiful there. You have a lot of fun people behind you. You guys are doing a painting. What are you guys doing today back there?
We have our War Machine and Hordes group in today. We're limiting events, but these guys have been faithful to us for years now. They purchased War Machine and other stuff, but they're also just a good, friendly group of guys until it comes up that I have a couple of armies and have not played in a long time. So yeah, this is how I appease them.
That's awesome. Well, Jennifer has just recently moved her store. Like I said, Crazy Squirrel Games is in Fresno, California. She's in this beautiful new location. It's very open and clean. We're going to do a little bit of a walkthrough. I think we're going to go through the walkthrough now so people can see it, and then we'll talk about it. But if you're going to Fresno, you're going to really want to know what what you're getting into, and it's a beautiful store. So let's go ahead and head it over to Adam and let's look at the store.
Yep, I got it. Hold on one sec. We're just not getting audio. It's on, it's just not doing audio now all of a sudden. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm the owner here at Crazy Squirrel Games Store in Fresno, California. We've been open for just over 10 years, but we've been in this location for just about 2 years now. We're pretty excited when we moved over here. One of the first things we did was expand our selections for kids. So now we carry some toys as well as games for them. And we just redid this section, so we're pretty excited about how it looks. One thing that we got to do is to move all of our kids' games over here and kind of make it a much more able play space for everybody where we can put anything in here. So we carry a lot of toys, which is great because we have a lot of family customers as well. As you come through here, I have an office so I can always kind of see what's going on. And you come through to our cash wrap area where we put out some of the greatest things and some of the things our people have been loving recently. Friendly employees, hopefully. One thing we love is that our customers really think this is a great community. And so they bring us squirrel-related gifts all the time. And that, to me, just kind of shows how, like, a store like this is there for everybody in the community, and they all have complete ownership of that as well. As you come on further down here, new board games are off to the side. Good family things that the staff loves, so we know we can sell a lot of them because these are the games that we also happen to be passionate about. But one of the big benefits we also have in the store is our lending library. We add to this every month and we cull through it to make sure things are good. People can use these games when they're in the store, or they can rent them to take them home and see if they really enjoy it before they make a purchase. With COVID, of course, we've had to make a bunch of changes to our open play space. So we're cut down on the number of tables we have, and we're being very careful with our events and kind of limiting the number of people that we have as we get through here and see what's going on. One of the big bonuses of this expansion too is that we added in some private playing space. There's a couple of different rooms for that. Got some guys getting ready for their Magic game tonight. But then if you come in here, which we affectionately call the dragon rooms, You've got some private spaces where people can come in and enjoy their own games. All the spaces have good tables and chairs. We've put up TVs with Chromecast, so if you're playing a role-playing game and you want to broadcast your map out, you can do that. If you want to see the new Magic event that's online, you can do that. And a little bit of storage area for everybody as well. These rooms we redo all the time. The tables can be moved. We usually have only about 8 people at a table, but these have been a big hit for our customers. And then when you come out on the main sales floor, we carry a little bit of everything. So some classic board games, new board games, lots of painting supplies. D&D has been huge. I've played role-playing games for quite a while now, which is one reason why I'm excited that I get to speak with Jason Morningstar today. But D&D was my first love, and it's hugely popular right now, and we love running it in the store, so we've got a lot of things to go with it. Tons of minis for sale when we can get them. But then one thing that we especially love with my love of role-playing games is a fairly expansive selection of independent role-playing games as well. D&D is very popular, Pathfinder is really popular, but the last few years there's just been an explosion of games for all genres and all kinds of rule sets and all ages. One thing we really pride ourselves on doing is finding the right game for the right group of people. And that's like why we like to have this large selection. And that's most of the store. So we really appreciate y'all taking some time to check out our store. Hopefully if you're ever in the Central Valley of California, you can come out and meet us at Crazy Squirrel, and we'd love to see you play at our table.
And back on you.
Your store is gorgeous. Like you have spent a ton of time really cultivating a feel of comfort when you walk in that store. So guests should be excited. What went into that thought process?
You know, so we opened just under 11 years ago. And one of the things, my husband and I opened the store together, but I'm the one who kind of runs it and it's my baby. But one of the things I really wanted to do is, as a female gamer who started going to game stores in the 80s, I wanted it to be open and friendly and family friendly. We have a diverse range of customers, both like in all of the factors. So we really want people to come in, feel like they're part of the family. We like to brag that people always say Crazy Squirrel is their store, like they own the store. We're totally okay with that, right? I love having all these squirrel tchotchkes up, although I do not need any more salt and pepper shakers that are squirrel shaped. We're good. But there's a lot of thought. You come in, right? You see kids, it's very welcoming. The store kind of gets deeper as you go inside of it as to what the content is.
Yeah.
And with play space, we just want people to feel comfortable in that play space. So nice tables, comfy chairs, that kind of stuff.
Sure. And speaking of kids, you just expanded your toy selection quite a bit. We saw in that video, it just looks really awesome for kids to just jump in and just have some fun and really explore. Good job.
Thank you. We learned that toy customers enjoy chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Tabletop customers like a little more definitive stuff. So we went a little more chaotic in toys and it's been fantastic. It makes me feel joyful because my office is right there by the toy section and I just get to be happy when I go to my desk.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you are a huge advocate, and I know this because I didn't even introduce myself, but you guys know this. A lot of people know this because you sort of, I owned a game store and I worked on the GAMA retail division with you, and you opened my eyes up to various role-playing games throughout our time, our short time together. I am a admitted fangirl of late to the RPG world. I was not playing when I was a child like you and have those experiences. So I've learned so much from you through you. But you just really work on, not only does your store from marketing all the way down tell a story about who you are, you really love storytelling games. Tell me and tell the customers that are going to come and visit your store in Fresno, tell us why that's so important to you.
You know, I played my first game of D&D when I was 11, and D&D was pretty new. So that's how long I've been at it. But when I was a kid, I moved around all the time. We moved almost every year. So for me, finding that new group of D&D was how I made friends. Also, I was super shy and quiet, easily up until my college years. So role playing was a way where I got to explore different parts of my personality, right? I could be a loud and obnoxious fighter instead of the kind of squeaky little mouse I was in real life. And that's just so instrumental to how I am as an adult, right? And now when I play with younger players, we get to see them explore their emotions because it's a safe way to do that, right? You can absolutely do that.
Yeah.
And then as I got older and discovered indie, I still love D&D. I'm so passionate about my fantasy games. But as we discovered more indie games where it's like, oh, there's new themes and now they can be set in space. And believe it or not, I'm a little bit of a space nerd. Like, these are fantastic things. And you get to explore these adult emotional relationships. I've had a couple of just really emotional experiences while playing games, especially when I play with my close friends, and you can just feel a little more open that way.
Yeah.
So we sell a ton of D&D. We play a lot of D&D in the store. We play a lot of Pathfinder, but then we really like people to know, like, there's all these other games. And also this board game is really just you trying to explore an island really quickly. Like, storytelling is like, history has been passed down through an oral tradition. That's storytelling. That's why storytelling games are so important.
Yeah, and you're a huge advocate for that. So if anybody is in your area and wants to know about any sort of storytelling games, I have always said Jennifer is where you want to go. A Crazy Squirrel, just the epitome of it. The other really neat, interesting thing, I think, from anybody who's a fan that likes to just tour game stores, which we know, you and I know a ton of people that just like to tour game stores, and we love to tour game stores. One of the great things is your tchotchkes. I know you laugh about it, but how immersive your actual store comes alive sort of in your store, which is really neat. And I definitely want viewers to know that, or anyone passing through Fresno, I want them to know that. You also have a very, very loyal, your store is much like my store was, in the fact that you have this embodiment of your building throughout. It personifies itself, right?
It does. You start, that community builds itself, right? We had to do a little work in the beginning to let people know who we are. And now it's the community telling everybody else.
Yeah. And it's sort of like a family, right? So you get, like, people love going to conventions. And of course, we're talking about Origins all the time because this is on the Origins Game Fair channel. And people love that conventions. But here at GAMA, which is the, overseeing parent company of Origins, we're a trade organization that wants to bring that to the consumer, right? So part of our idea in this show is to let people know Friendly Local Game Store is your safe place. This is where you should be going to really, like, enjoy these and learn. I would not have known too much about our guests that will come later in the show if it wasn't for you, right? Like, game stores are such a heartbeat. And one of the things that I have always admired about you is I think that's why we became friends, right? Inside Secret viewers, we're friends.
We are good friends.
Yeah, is that your heart just beats through your store so much. And it makes me proud as, a former GAMA retail member, board member, to now watch how game stores are evolving. Like, when we started this, oh my Lanta, like, it was so different. It was such a different world we lived in. So I want customers to understand that your game experience, your convention experience is this little, Jennifer emulates that in Fresno, California. Other stores like that we've had on the past, they emulate this. So are you doing anything special this summer? Do you have anything big going on the rest of the summer?
So we're doing limited events because we care about our community. And so we're trying to make sure we're as safe during COVID as we can be. Like, we can hold up to 120 people in our play spaces. We're limiting that usually to the 30s these days. Our big event this year is we're having our 10+1 anniversary in October because we turned 10 last year, but we couldn't celebrate it. So this year we're doing 10+1 in 2021. And then speaking about community, like, it was in our very first business plan that we want to build a community of gamers and have those gamers take part in their larger community. So we always raise money for Extra Life, for our local Valley Children's Hospital. We have raised money for our food bank to the point where our food bank was like, oh, we need to bring the semi to pick up your order. Yes. So there is a lot of like, hey, we can add together, we can get through it. Like, I have business stuff I have to do, right? I have to pay bills and things. But this business is fun. I love the fact that some of my best friends now are people that I didn't meet until we opened the store. And it's really been educational for me. I love the fact that we have a community that wants to help us out. We had 2020 was rough, right? I'm in California. We were solidly closed for 10 weeks. That is a rough time. And yet we had people constantly, how do we help you get through this? How do we do it? So like the biggest message I can give to game store customers or consumers is just go buy stuff, right? We just want to do business. That's what we want to do. And depending on whatever their policies are, just be nice about the policies.
Yeah.
Be nice to other people in the store.
Yeah.
Occasionally don't help me try to sell stuff as often, but that's okay.
Yeah, we could have a funny lead in with that with Jason, couldn't we?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot to be said though for that spirit, and you definitely emulate it. I'm proud to call you friend, and I'm sure Fresno is proud to call you their home game store. It's incredible. And these people behind you look like they're having the time of their lives.
They are having a good time. They're both playing War Machine and apparently going through my library to look for things to use as tokens right now. Because this is our rental library over here. And I think I know we have some friends coming in today. I think we might have a first date happening in the store at some point today as well, which we like to see happen. When we first opened, we kind of became a good neutral ground for nerds who were meeting other nerds for the first time.
Yes.
I think we've had a few birthday parties. I've had one wedding reception. Like we're a community center as well as a business.
I think, am I mistaken? I know we had engagement photos happen in the store. It's just really neat how the game store just becomes the soul of like the geekdom, right?
Right,
like,
right.
Well, the other thing that I think that you do really, really well is that you emulate an actual business model that's fair and solid for your consumer, but you also are in there like kind of getting dirty and playing games and having fun. And you're living your best life through your store, and it's amazing. And you're super passionate to always make it better for your customers. And the thing that I know about Crazy Squirrel is that when you guys make a change, it's always for that customer, for them in mind. Now, I want to talk to you about what some of your favorite games are and what are some of the big things that happen. And I do appreciate that you are safe for your customers and that you're taking steps to be as proactive for their health as possible. So nobody's going to shame you for that. But in normal times, what are the things that you're really proud about that you think the squirrel's known for? And then I'll tell you what I think it is.
We do, in terms of like what we play in the store, we really play a lot of things. We have some restrictions on what can be played in the store, and it's basically because we're a family environment. We want to make sure it maintains that family environment. But in normal times, there's a lot of Magic that happens in the store. There's a lot of Pokemon. We're in fact changing how we're going to do Pokemon, and we're going to focus on Junior League for a little while because we want to make sure two things. One, that kids have a good, safe place to play, and two, that we can kind of try to convince their adults to actually try the game. Because a lot of parents aren't playing with their kids because they're like, oh, I don't want to learn Pokemon, but we're like, it's super easy. Here's how you do it.
And fun.
When we were running D&D, we were running 150 people a week through D&D games. And it's always been a ton of fun. I think we're bringing back our minis games a lot. We've brought back 40K this year. In Age of Sigmar, we play some Dust in the store. We clearly have War Machine and Hordes going on. But we try to, our weeknights are kind of scheduled weeknights. You know, you can find D&D on these days. You know, Magic is going to happen Mondays and Fridays. And then our weekends, we cycle through our special events. So
you do pancakes, you do,
yeah.
you do so much stuff. You do RPGs, board game nights. You just run the spectrum.
You know, one of our favorite things that we're bringing back really soon is our monthly indie RPG meetup, where the only rules are no D&D, no Pathfinder. So you have to try something new. And that's my husband. He does that because he's also passionate about indie games.
Yeah, and a lot of people would think to yourself like, oh, why would you do that? Well, it's so you can explore. Our industry has so many designers and creators that the scope of awesome experiences are just a handful away, which is a perfect lead in for our next guest that we're actually going to bring Jennifer back on at the end of the show. So it's a little bit different. We're going to transition. So sit tight, Jennifer, because we're not done with you because
I'm going to sit back and fangirl while you talk.
Yep. And then you can come in and fangirl. It'll be amazing. So we're going to bring in Jason Morningstar, who is the creator and the, I guess, owner. Jason, are you the owner of Bully Pulpit?
I'm the co-owner, yeah.
Co-owner, perfect. But you're one of the designers of some amazing RPGs, as I've learned through Jennifer. Why don't you tell us about some of the games that you've created? And I think people will know a couple of them pretty well.
Yeah, thanks for the lead in, Dawn. So I'm probably best known for the game Fiasco, which has been very successful for us and has brought a lot of joy and chaos to lots of people. And there are several versions of Fiasco in print and some supplements and things, and we can talk more about that. I've also written games that you might recognize, like Night Witches. I'm looking off to the side here to see what's on my shelf. Let's see.
You have a very nice portfolio of games for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really appreciate about your line, and I think I was telling you this in our pre-interview chat, is that as a retailer, you have a lot of supporting items that help us continue to make that game sort of immersive and just have some like tchotchke go along things. So people can really get new flavors and new things with your product line. I feel like you really think about your end consumer when you create something, and that's appreciated from me for sure. What though is your favorite thing about creating role-playing games?
Well, that's a great question. And for me, it's a form of expression, right? Whether it's, I don't know, some people paint or some people sing, and I make games to express how I'm feeling or what I want to see in the world. And I always have. That's just sort of the way it is for me. And that's the thing. I don't really have a choice. I've done it my whole life. It's how I interface with the world.
That's beautiful though. And you have really made some products that, by talking to you, have moved me in a way that you will not ever know. But one of them specifically is Night Witches, because my perception of this game, first of all, I'd like you to tell people what Night Witches is and what it's about, and then we'll move on to tell them why it's so moving to me.
Okay, so yeah, so Night Witches is a game about, it's a historical game about the 588th Night Bomber Regiment, which was a regiment in the Soviet Air Force during World War II. And the thing that was unique about the 588th was that it was composed entirely of women. So in Night Witches, you play one of these women who flies and navigates and is fighting the Nazis during the night. And then during the day, you fight the Red Army, who doesn't want you there. So it's a game that sort of intersects total war, right? Because you're learning about and experiencing the Great Patriotic War. It's an existential fight against fascism. And then also the endemic sexism of the time and place, which has a lot of contemporary echoes.
Yeah.
So like whichever of those things sounds more appealing to you, it's going to bring you into the game, but you're going to explore both of them. And in my experience, sometimes the pitch for one of those is the thing that brings people in and gets them to learn about the other. And I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. The thing that moved me the most was Jennifer would tell me that she has these great, amazing, like sessions where it's all women. It's just a safe place for women to play. And then when I was talking to you, what moved me so much was you created it. And I want you to tell that story. I don't want to put those words in your mouth, but the reason that you created it has moved me in a way you just won't know. But explain why you created that and what opening up of RPG windows you did with that.
So one of the things that is really important to me and that I really treasure about role playing is that it allows you to experience empathy.
Yeah.
It just as Jennifer was saying earlier, that you can, try on something different. You can use it as a way to experiment with identity and in a safe and controlled way. And that's always been important to me. And often the games that I make are really trying to get you to see things from a different perspective. And so with Night Witches, I had this beautiful opportunity, particularly for people who identify as male, right? Because when you play Night Witches, you get all the cool stuff about World War II, right? You're flying bombers, you're attacking the Nazis. It's great. And that's a wonderful hook to bring people into the game.
Yeah.
But you're going to play a woman. And for a lot of folks, that might be a new experience. It might not be the choice that you would make if I was allowing you the default. You can be whatever you want.
Right.
Typically, if you can be whatever you want, you're going to be someone who's a lot like yourself. And for someone who identifies as male, you're probably going to play a dude. You don't get to do that in Night Witches, but you still get to play somebody who is hyper competent and just a savage warrior for a cause that we can all get behind, and that you're fighting, and you have this camaraderie and the sense of pride and adventure and tragedy and heartbreak that makes it very relevant, and you get to empathize with that, and you get to experience in a very, very minor way, maybe what it's like to be someone of a different gender than yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's great.
And it's huge. It's huge. So we can't minimize that. We don't want to minimize it. We thank you. Lots of people thank you. And this is why gaming is so amazing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about like some of the projects you have coming up, because
Sure.
You have a game that I am so excited about, the card game we talked about. I want to talk about that.
Oh yeah. So actually, we'll be kickstarting this soon, which is I'm very excited about. It's a game called Desperation, and the thing that's cool about it is that it has a very low barrier to entry. It's providing you with a really interesting situation that is going to play out differently every time you experience it. You create a community. So part of the game is that you're sort of literally, it's card based. You're literally using these cards to create a map of this location. So the first two sets for this are a town in Kansas in 1888 and on a cod fishing ship in the Gulf of Alaska. So you like create that and get to really understand that setting and the people who live in that setting. And that's all provided by these cards. And then you get to experience some time in their lives, and things happen, and those things are bad. And every time one of these things happens, as a player, you're parsing the information on the card, but it doesn't tell you who is speaking that, from whose point of view that is. And the great example of this is that the set that's in Kansas in 1888 takes place during a blizzard. And this is all based on history. There's historical precedent to all this. But at some point during the blizzard, people start to kind of lose it. And somebody is just gonna completely have a break with reality. And they go out and they chop down the only orchard in town. They chop down all the trees to make a giant bonfire. And it's just utter madness. And that happens. That's a thing that's gonna happen in the game. But the question becomes, who is that person? Like you know a dozen different people in this town.
Yeah.
But one of them that's going to happen to, and you get to decide that. And the beautiful thing about the game is that our innate pattern matching will tell you who that is. Like, as a player, when you draw that card and read it, you're like, oh, clearly that's Bobley Lightner, right? Because we've already seen that person's behavior and actions through this beautiful interplay with other players. So I'm very excited about this. It's going to be really, really interesting and fun. And it does something that I think is pretty new. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I didn't want to tell Jennifer about it at the time so that she could experience that here, because she's still on. But you, and of course, who would have expected such chaos from the creator of Fiasco?
Right. Yeah. You know, it's a real left turn.
It's amazing. But you know, it's not a left turn, right? But you really are full circle. You help us all touch on things that we wouldn't have touched on before. You create fun. I am addicted to Night Court.
Ghost Court.
Ghost Court. I don't know why I said I'm addicted to it and I can't think of it. This is called old age, Jason.
No, I'm very well acquainted with it.
I suffer. Jennifer told us about Ghost Court, and I'm going to bring her back on now because she got me hooked on wanting to do it, and it is hilarious. So Adam, if you can bring Jennifer back in, we're going to do kind of like a powwow with everybody, and just kind of talk about some of the things that we enjoy. And I also want to thank you for being here because you're an incredible asset to the gaming community. And without cool things like you, honestly, retail would be kind of boring. So we can't thank you enough. We love that you give us these really cool things to play with. You know, actually, we didn't do the video yet either, though, did we, Adam?
We did not.
Am I slacking? Cool. We're going to go ahead and do the video for
this is a video of people playing Night Witches, right?
Yeah, people playing Night Witches. And I want to make sure we get that in there. Adam worked really hard on it. Good work. And it focuses some trade shows that are coming up with right around the corner. Oh, so like really honestly, like that just gave me such like excitement because it reminds me that someday soon we'll be back to doing that. And just remembering how much I love it and seeing your face in that moment on how just really invested into it you are to see your passion. Yeah.
I genuinely love it. And thank you. And thank you for all the kind words. I really appreciate that.
They're real. You're welcome. Jennifer, Jennifer created a fangirl out of, for me to be a fangirl through her absolute admiration. Jennifer, why don't you tell everybody about your Night Witches game? Because this for me is exciting.
So I may or may not be addicted to Night Witches. I like went out to get all the props. I have little planes for my table. But I first played Night Witches at KublaCon in the Bay Area in an open game. And I fell in love with the history. It was a history I had no idea about. So like I started researching Night Witches and all of that, played the game. I had played some of Jason's games prior to that, but this was the one that like cemented Jason as one of the designers I personally will buy without knowing what the product is. Like his name is attached, I would pick it up. But I've played in several Night Witches games since then. Some of them have been with good close friends. Some of them have been in open games. One of the things I like about it is that those games play out completely differently. We use an X card system at our tables where there's just a simple X card in the middle of the table. If somebody's uncomfortable with a topic, they touch that card and we move on. And we agree at the beginning of the game how mature we want our game to be because, for example, for Night Witches, women in the Russian bomber unit, not always well received by the men. So when we play open games, I'm like, hey, these are topics we may broach, but we're going to gray screen all of that. but we've had moments, I think in the last game I played with friends, our ending was so incredibly cinematographic with my husband's character somehow got like thrown out of a plane and we were on the ground. And as he's running into the forest to become hidden, he gets shot in the back. And it was just like a moment that kind of resonates with our gamers. So, but we've also had great times with games like Fiasco is the opposite end of that. Fiasco is good, silly, we're gonna have fun. I have played some really bizarre characters in Fiasco and loved it.
Yeah.
But for me these days, even though I love these indie RPGs, we've been getting more and more into the new style of LARPs. So more things like I've played a few games of Skeletons now, which I've really enjoyed. I'm stoked about this card game coming out. This sounds amazing.
Yeah, what is it called, Jason?
It's called Desperation.
Desperation. Okay, so everybody at home, mark that. What's your goal date to get that started on Kickstarter? We can plug Kickstarter. You'll put it in retail. It's all good.
Oh, it's definitely going in retail. Yeah, I don't have the exact date. End of the month.
Okay. Don't give Jason to finish it, Dawn.
And if you have a retail level on Kickstarter, I will convince a bunch of retailers to back.
Thank you.
Well,
we 100% will.
Yeah.
She will.
Yeah. And they talk about indie games all the time.
Exactly. Jennifer just did a seminar for GAMA about storytelling. And one of the things that always resonated for me was her experiences with Ghost Court. We never went this far, but I want you to tell everybody about, because didn't you do like late night, sort of like other stores?
So we have done Ghost Court a couple of times. I think the story you're asking about is a different ghost related LARP, but we use Ghost Court a lot when we do public events. I actually found out about it when we were helping out with one of our libraries. They often run a role-playing con called Bookworm. And so I found out about it via that. But one of my favorite stories to tell people about why I love role-playing and the new style of LARPs is some friends and I were playing a game where you play a team of paranormal researchers, and you had gone into a house years ago and one of your team members died. So the game takes place 10 or 20 years later, and you're going back into the house because you've been called back into the house. You're randomly assigned characters. And I had my best friend died when I was just before we turned 30. And during this game, it was kind of lighthearted at the beginning, and we kept playing, it kept getting deeper. And then at one point, one of the other characters draws a card that tells you have to ask somebody, have you forgiven yourself? And they randomly chose me to ask that question to, kind of how you're talking about in Desperation, how you kind of know who to ask the question to. So they asked me, the person playing one of my dead best friends asks me, have you forgiven yourself? And I like immediately go back to this personal experience I had. And it was emotionally, like a couple of my friends knew what my experience was, but a couple of them didn't know how deep it still affects me. And it was like a moment where we became better friends because I could explain these emotions that I were having that even I didn't know were that close to the surface that day. And it was just like, that's so important. Like that's how we develop relationships with people. You have to share part of yourself.
Yeah. And it feels like, Jason, the way you develop a game, even like Night Witches, that's how you help people to do that, maybe through things that you noticed were lacking in the industry. So that's pretty awesome.
I think there's often a kernel of something that I want to express or address. Yeah, definitely at the heart of all my games.
Yeah. Jennifer, I was talking about somebody, and it may not have been you, somebody was telling me about Ghost Court where they would dress up, like have everybody dress up after hours, and they had like a full court and everybody was like literally emulating it. And this, everybody, all my friends know this is my vibe. If it's an immersive like event that I can pull off, Dawn is all for it. Get out. I am like the Martha Stewart of gaming. I want all the bells and whistles, and I want people to jump right in to that immersion. That's and I feel like Ghost Court just kind of lays that out for you, right? Like it's just this amazing experience. And we've played it so many times, but have yet to go down that I've got to do it. When I get out my
I think that sounds great. That wasn't us. That sounds great. We often play it also at our Extra Life 25-hour gaming marathon.
Oh, nice.
So maybe we'll do that this year, because you got to find a lot of games to fill 25 hours in a row.
Yeah.
The Ghost Court's really nice because any one participant is only on the spot for a few minutes. And it allows you to be silly, but you don't have to be in the spotlight for very long, which is nice.
Yeah. It is nice. Go ahead.
You can jump in and out of the game. Like you don't have to say, I got 4 hours to play. It's like, I got 20 minutes.
Yep.
Let's do this.
And I'll tell you, we're talking about things that we need in the industry. Ghost Court, the genesis of Ghost Court was I wanted a gateway for LARP. I wanted people to have a very safe and easy point of entry for LARP, because once you played, then you can be like, did you enjoy those 3 minutes? What if it was 2 hours? You know, you can hook people.
Yeah, I always use the word immersive because people were far less afraid of what that word meant compared to LARP. So it like normalizing it. I hate that. I hate that people say that, because it is all normal, but making it more attainable to other people to not feel so weird. We always used immersive.
We call it a party game. We don't use the word LARP.
Yeah. Yeah, Jennifer, you keep talking about this new style of LARP. Do you want to define it or talk about it? Because I guess we all kind of know, I know what you're talking about, but the viewer may not.
Yeah. So probably pretty infamously back in the 80s and 90s, LARPing definitely developed a reputation as fairly antisocial, nerdy behavior, even though it is not, and I love it. But I know, like, the first LARP I played in when I was in junior high had us running around an open mall with bananas for guns and kind of interacting that way, which was pretty common. Like, that's kind of the level that we did back then. We had to use bananas because they didn't want kids out with guns, which makes sense. I did scare a couple of older women
with your banana?
Poorly. And I did. I was hiding around a corner. I heard footsteps. I thought it was participants. I jumped around with my banana pointed, and it was 2 women probably in their 50s or 60s. And I apologize anonymously to this day. I freaked them out. But there's this new, and I think it's referenced as like this new like Nordic style of LARPing. It's like Vampire the LARP was very popular in my area years ago, and it's kind of a more ongoing style. There's a new style, kind of the way Euro games were different than American games, in that they tend to be shorter. You can run them in as short as a few minutes. I think most of the ones we do are like 3 or 4 hours. And they can be as immersive as you allow yourself to be in the game.
Yeah,
right?
LARP is not just boffers and people beating each other up, and I want people to understand that and know that, right? Yeah. LARP is live action role play.
Right.
So
I don't think I've used a prop since I was 12. Just because now it really is, you're just kind of embodying somebody or something else.
Acting.
Really, yeah. We don't even stock Ghost Court with our RPGs. We stock it with our party games, like Jason said.
We did the same thing.
Yeah, that's very smart.
Yeah.
Yep, we did the same thing. Yeah. And the great thing is about LARPing is that this is such a great way to really get on a child's level as well. So people don't even realize that Tea Party is LARP, right? Yeah. When your child wants to play a tea party, this is LARP. Going to Disney, which I am an addict, because guess why? People are like, you're a grown adult. Why would you want to go to Disney? I'm like, because it's like living LARP. Like, I am literally in, like, I can be whoever I want to be. So if there's somebody watching that doesn't know so much about role-playing games, trust, it is the best experience you will have and the most fun, the best icebreakers at parties.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you like watching other people play D&D because they're famous actors and they are enacting what their characters do, those people are LARPing.
They truly are.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And gosh, what a fan base it has, right? Like, it has really soared. And so don't be afraid to do it. If you guys are watching, the 3 of us are looking at you guys. Don't be afraid to do it, because there's so much amazing stuff. I had no idea what night witches were either. My husband heard me talking to Jason in our pre-interview, and he's coming over with like his phone going, yeah, look, they were called night witches because they sounded like broomsticks. And like, you just are opening up a world to amazingness in these RPGs. And I want to thank, as we wrap up the show, I want to thank Jennifer, because you're literally bringing Jason's work to life. And thank you, Jason, for creating that life for us game store owners to bring to life. It's such a beautiful full circle that I am so proud to be part of. And both of you guys keep making your mark. You're doing great things. I am honored to have featured you guys on the spotlight, and I'm so thankful for you guys to have come and helped us. But everybody else, hey, thanks for joining us. Check out Jennifer at Crazy Squirrel Games and Toys now in Fresno, California, and make sure you pick up some of Jason's stuff with Bully Pulpit. Talking is also hard when you get old. They're usually at your friendly local game stores. If they're not, bug Jason, he'll find a way for you to get it to you. Or bug your game stores, because we all know how to order it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming, and we'll see you guys next month on another edition of Friendly Local Game Store Spotlight.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.